information that is correct. Okay, not, well, I think this or I think that, from people that aren't in the industry. So of course, we always deal with especially in the age of technology and information at our fingertips, people that and even we are guilty of it, I'm sure, in some instances, giving our opinions on things that we don't necessarily know full well about, same as going to the doctor and, you're like, oh, I found this on WebMD, and then the doctor's like, well, I went to, 10 years of medical school. I think I know. So I wanted to approach this call with giving you guys some of the information that I think that would be helpful for you guys to share with people when you overcome or when you hear objections and just hear even just flat out wrong data. And I'll go through all of that here in this call. The agenda will be, I'm going to give you the market update. We're going to talk about 3 Bay Area county reports. And then if you want some other counties, let me know and I can pull separately for you. We're going to talk about projections, where interest rates headed. We're going to talk about the loan limit increases coming for 2023. Super important. I'm excited about it. Overcoming objections and how to win. So some of the information I give you, you might say, well, I'm already doing that. And that's awesome. Good. You're ahead of the curve. Some of you guys are not doing really much of this stuff at all, because I know you call me and we talk about it and I ask you these questions and I get the answers back. So from some of my conversations with you guys, I was inspired to present this information to you. All right, let's jump right in. Market update. Okay, so the FHFA is the Federal Housing Finance Agency, and they put out an index every quarter. The most recent index came out. And we can see here now, of course, this is nationwide. And typically these data points are not going to include cash buyers and jumbo loans. They're going to say more in the conforming loan category because most of the country is conforming. Of course, we all know in the Bay Area, we're jumbo here for the most part, conforming high balance. That might tweak here coming in 2023 with the loan limit changes that are headed for us. But as you can see here, let's just talk about the Pacific side of the country here.
You can share your screen if you wanted to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was already doing that. My apologies.
People always remind me, but
yes.
And usually halfway through. So at this,
I'm like, okay, let's see.
And if people would like to get a copy of this information, they should send me $5, right? And then, no, that's not right. Maybe email you and I'll post your contact information in by the time we're done.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Well,
there we go.
There
so normally, for those of you, before you ask, we're not going to give you a link to the handouts right now unless Jody has changed since the last time we did this. If you're interested, you can request it from her and I'll be posting her contact information in the chat.
Yeah, I have to be careful because I have been sending these out in the past, and unless compliance reviews everything that I send out, then I'm not supposed to send it out. So I would just say do your best with if you want any of the information. Otherwise, yes, give me a call or send me an email or a text or something after, and tell me what exactly information you're wanting, and I'll see if I can pull out some of the info and send it to you. Okay, well, there was the first slide you didn't see. Okay, there was the agenda. Now, this is what I was talking about. The Federal Housing Finance Agency updated statistics for the end of August. Now, I know we're in October, almost the end of October, but it does take a while for the data to be compiled. And then, of course, they've got to make their fancy graphs. So it's usually going to be a month or two behind. So this is where we ended pretty much the end of August of this year. The Pacific side of the country where we are located, we saw, let me move this here. There, okay. That home prices fell a little over 0.5%, about 0.7% in August, but still up almost 12% year over year. Did you hear that? Home prices fell in August, but they're still up year over year. Now, this is from the Federal Housing Finance Agency. This is not numbers that I made up or anything like that. So when people are talking about, oh, the house prices have dropped, and it's all 20%, it's going to go down 20% and all this, This is a slide you can share that with them. This information, it's all public. Okay. It's on fhfa.gov. If you want to go piddle around in there and pull out your own data points, feel free. But this should make you guys a little bit more on the positive side, right? We are still having some appreciation in the country. So it's not all doom and gloom. Now it is down a couple of percentage points from where it was last year, but not near as bad as what people are out there saying it is. So down about a little over 0.5% since August, but up almost 12% year over year. Mortgage origination. Now, remember, you guys, you deal with cash buyers all the time, and I of course, they don't need me. So they, some of this information is not going to apply to your cash buyers, but even with cash buyers, depending on how much money they are trying to spend, it still might make sense for them to have a mortgage, unless they own like 50 properties, and it kind of becomes a little bit more difficult. But I'm always happy to talk to any buyers, cash or not. Okay, back to it. Mortgage origination. The MBA released their forecast, and the MBA is the Mortgage Bankers Association. Okay, it's a national club, if you will, and association, and they track mortgage data. They track all of the reporting from all over the country, and then they give us their opinions. Now, these are really highly skilled professionals, so I tend to trust what they're going to put out there. So they're projecting that mortgage origination volume is going to come in between $2.2 and $2.3 trillion this year. Now, that's a lot, okay? Even considering where interest rates have gone. They are projecting that we will hit a recession in the first half of 2023, and that rates will decline to near 5% levels sometime next year. Now, this type of mortgage data is going to, remember, for the most part, be conforming, all right? Non-conforming rates are in the low sixes right now, 6.1, 6.2. The conforming loans are at 7%. So that's the difference. So you're always going to, even though you'll see things online that says jumbo rates are always higher than conforming rates. Don't go jumbo. That's not true. It's actually the opposite. Jumbo rates are lower. That wasn't the case for a while, but it has been the case for several years now. No indication of where that's going to go in the future yet, but we are not. So when you hear that online that interest rates are 7%, it's typically going to be the conforming and government loans. But jumbo is in the the low sixes right now. So the MBA is saying that rates should go around 5% next year. Now let's say that's conforming. So you're going from 7 to 5. That's what they're projecting, which tells me that jumbo loans should go from 6 to maybe in the 4s. All right. Not that it's an exact science or exact sliding scale, but it gives you kind of a good indication of about where you think rates will be heading. Now, that is why, and I'll some of the stuff I'm going to probably say twice throughout this call, but just bear with me. But that is why we're seeing a lot of people going into adjustable rate mortgages now. Fixed period ARMs. Fixed period, meaning 5, 7, or 10 years fixed. Period. Adjustable rate mortgage. After the initial fixed term, then the rates will adjust, and probably will. But a lot of people are going into the ARMs now because these 30-year fixed rates are so high, and the ARMs offer a lot of protection, even because they're fixed for a lengthy period of time. There are caps on ARMs, meaning there's a potential or there's a rate that it can never exceed, which is typically going to be 5% of plus whatever the rate was that they got when they started. So if you started out at 5.5 on an ARM, your rate will never be more than 10.5. I know that's super scary, but ARMs are not meant to be kept for the full length of the term. You typically are going to be, maybe you're relocating, you're only going to be here 5 years. So why pay a 30-year fixed rate, do a 7-year ARM or 10-year or something like that? Or it's an entry-level house, they're going to start a family or do something where they know they're going to be buying up or moving out of state or something like that. So ARMs, those are some of the reasons why ARMs have been popular in the past, but now it's mostly because of price, because payment even on a 30-year fix versus an ARM can be significant and several $100s less. And it is the deciding factor right now with a lot of people, even deciding to stay in their contract and close because they're able to have a much lower interest rate than what the 30-year fixed is. So the 30-year fixed, as this chart ended from Freddie Mac, just under 7%. That's with a point, almost a point paid. Now, I don't want to deep dive into every little detail here, but basically when we price our loans, we look at what's with paying for the rate to go down a little bit, or just taking whatever the rate is at par, meaning for free. So we're told on one's rates have been comparatively is around 6.875 to 7% with no points. So it's still a lot better than what you're seeing online, but it's very buyer specific. It's credit score specific. How much are they putting down? 5% versus 20. What kind of property they're buying, single family versus condo. All of that goes into to account for if their person's going to pay, the borrower's going to pay anything for a particular rate. Now, given where the interest rates are and the fact that a lot of people are taking ARMs, the majority of people are taking ARMs, it does not make sense to buy the rate down unless you have to qualify. Okay, for example, I do have someone right now who has to be on a 7 or 10-year ARM. They have to be at 5.375, otherwise they don't qualify. They cannot take a 30-year fixed loan because the rate is too high and the ratios are too high. So that's another benefit to having an ARM. So, but this person actually didn't have to do much by way of paying for the interest rate because the credit score was really good. Fixed rates for 15 years in the low sixes for conforming. The average rate on the 5-year for conforming was around 5.7. That sounds about right. We had a little bit of a dip earlier this quarter, but now it's come back up some. Today is actually a pretty good day on the market for interest rates. So maybe that'll improve by 1/8 of a point or something overnight. Who knows? But not anything drastic like, you know, 0.5 point or anything like that. Okay, so let's talk about what does it mean if we go into recession? Well, I should even say when we go into recession, because all signs are pointing that that's where we're headed. The Fed is unable to get inflation under control as quickly as they had hoped by these massive rate increases this year. It just simply hasn't gotten the inflation down to the level that they want to see it at. So when I talk to people about, is it a good time to buy and, you know, talking points and all this, I talk with them about the history of inflation and mortgage rates. Mortgage rates have been basically tracked since the early 70s. And if we take a look at the data on interest rates and inflation, the correlation there, we'll see that typically every time inflation is higher and the Fed goes in and ups the Fed fund rate, inflation responds, mortgage rates respond by going down. Mortgage rates love inflation. So while there's a lot of negative sides to inflation, that would be a positive. I'm always going to try to put a positive spin on everything because I think that buying real estate is always a good idea, no matter what's going on in the economy. If you can do it, it's always a smart move, in my opinion. But anyway, back to it. So basically, what we can see is most likely once we go into recession.
What I'll do, like I mentioned, I'll stay in communication with you, and then once.
Okay, Fernando, do you mind muting yourself?
Let's get together and start looking for some houses.
Mike, if you can mute.
All right, Limor.
So what we're seeing,
and I'll also text you my.
What we're seeing is that basically the pattern is mortgage rates will go down after we enter an inflation. I'm sorry, after we enter a recession, and inflation is under control. And the MBA, the Mortgage Bankers Association, is already predicting that early next year. Okay, existing home sales. So this is going to, this report here is going to tell us where existing home sales were basically the end of September. Down about 1.5%, but down year over year about 23, almost 24%. Now that's really kind of pretty much sums it up on what's all happening right now in the real estate and even mortgage industry with production, right? Our production is down. There's no doubt about it. Even top producing loan officers and top producing real estate agents are seeing the slowdown. It's impossible to ignore. So it's down, but we're not out. Okay, 23, 24%. That's to be expected considering everything that's happened in the economy over the last 2, going on 3 years now. Right now, we're seeing about a 3.2 month supply of real estate, and where we want to be is about 6 months. That's more of a stable number for us. Now, what that means is prices aren't going to go down, right? Supply and demand, simple economics. We still have a lack of supply. and we still have demand. Okay, now you say, well, interest rates have gone up and my buyers have decided to wait. Definitely, that's happening, but there's still buyers out there. There's still buyers buying, and there's still, in some cases, multiple offers on properties. So what we have to do, and I've said this probably 10,000 times, is we have to change the narrative. We have to get out there in front of our clients and our customers who expect that we're experts in our field, and give them the actual information that they need to make a more informed decision, not just reading the headlines or clickbait on the internet or things like that really are there to invoke fear. Because if we're afraid and we're scared of what's going to happen in the world, we tend to vote differently. So there's a reason out there that there's a lot of fear and fear mongering out there out of the media, and even in some particular politicians trying to scare everybody off and think the world's coming to an end, but it's really not. So let's see. First-time home buyers, they accounted for 29% of sales in September. Cash buyers, 22%. And remember, I don't really deal with cash buyers, but you do. So almost just at 52% or 51% of all sales were first-time home buyers in cash. That's really awesome. It is still below the previous reporting at 24%, but we are still seeing some traction out there with first-time home buyers, cash buyers. There's investment property purchasing going on. I know personally about 4 different acquaintances of mine are in the middle of 1031 exchanges right now. So what I wanted to talk about with you guys today is to become an expert in your field, you've got to have this information readily available. All this information that's in this call today, I was able to derive from the internet. I didn't make this up, and I certainly am not an economics major, nor do I have all the time in the world to compile data. This information is out there for you to get on your own. If you want to go to realtor.com, there's a lot of information there. Santa Clara County Board of Realtors, any board of realtors going to have your neighborhood statistics and things like that. So don't just depend on what I'm presenting. Go out there and do some research. It might take you a couple of hours to hone in on a few zip codes and get the data that you need, so that when you're out in front of people at events or at neighborhood barbecues or sporting events or even at the coffee shop, you've got some information that you can reference back that gives people more understanding what's really going on out there. Okay, let's keep going. So I've got 3 county reports right now. I've got Santa Clara County, Contra Costa County, and Alameda County. I can pull any report for any county in the state if you'd like. So if one of these 3 counties aren't yours, then let me know and I'm happy to send this to you. The biggest data that I like to pull from the county reports is going to be renters who can afford to purchase. So we can look at this Santa Clara County report at all different data elements and get super excited about it. 5-year gain, 410,000. That's amazing. Median home price, 1.6 million. But what I like to see is that there are 218,000 renters who can afford to purchase in Santa Clara County. 218,000 out of about 865,000 renters. That's a big number. And as a matter of fact, I was talking with my wife last night and actually showing her some of this. And I said, wow, 218,000. Thanks. I'll take 50. I couldn't handle 218,000 buyers. I couldn't handle 20,000, but I can handle 50, right? 50 or 100, maybe 200. There's plenty out there to go around, but we have to get in front of potential buyers. They're not just going to pick up the phone and magically dial your number or mine. We have to get out in front of them somehow, some way, be the experts in our field in this area and show them what it's like to actually go through the process and become homeowners and create wealth. If any of you guys were at the Freddie Mac presentation with Nora, she talked about the generational wealth gap. And I think that if you can focus on that and some of the underserved communities and help people realize something that they probably think is way out of reach, what better thing to do with your life and in your career to be able to be a part of that, of looking back at a family that maybe there's no homeowner at all in the family, and you're the person that helps them see that they can afford to buy. And now they've purchased a home, and now maybe their children or their cousins or their parents, they'll start seeing, oh, wow, this actually is doable, and start buying a home and building wealth, right? I think it's an amazing thing. It really does give me chills, and kind of one of the reasons I love what I do is I want to be a part of that movement. Alameda County has 102,000 renters who can purchase. Now we're already almost at 500,000. Contra Costa County, 106,000 renters who can afford to purchase. So in these calls, I've also mentioned, let's do home buyer fairs, home buyer seminars, whatever, we have to do to get in front of people. And I do get a lot of interest from that after these calls, but so far I'm not getting the traction that I would like to see. If you're not out there producing, at least 1 to 2, 3 transactions a month, and you're sitting at 0, what are you doing with your time? Because the buyers are there. Okay, they may not know, and they may be listening to the news and getting all sad and like, oh, it's never going to happen for me. But they need someone that's going to come up to them and tell them, wait a minute, it is possible, and here's how, and here's why. So I really challenge you guys after this call to take your calendars out and give me a call, and let's get some buyer seminars booked. It's very affordable to do this. I don't think that we would have to spend very much money at all. We would have to stay 50-50 on expenses to be RESPA compliant. But I really want to do this, and I'm going to probably just start doing them on my own. Maybe I'll invite a few realtors to it, but this is really an untapped resource here of potential buyers, but we have to get out there in front of them. Okay. All right. So next, let's talk real quickly about the loan limit increases for 2023. Now, they're not officially published yet on Fannie Mae's website, so I don't have exact numbers for every single county. We can kind of gauge where it's going to go just by looking at the current county limits all over the state of California. But for the most part, this is what it's going to look like. If it was previously capped at $647,500, the new loan limit is going to be $715,000. If it was originally capped at $970,800, the new loan limit is going to be $1,073,000. Now, what does that mean for buyers? Some people don't like when the loan limits go up. I personally love it. I think it's great because that means that I can do conforming loans for less money down, typically no reserves, maybe a couple months, depending on what underwriting wants to see, but normally not more than that. Jumbo loans are 10% down, 12 months reserves, that kind of thing. And sometimes that puts people out of being able to buy. But with this new loan limit change, going from $970,800 to $1,073,000, and this is going to be for the most part like Santa Clara County, Alameda, all of the high cost counties in California. This means that you could help your buyer with only 5% down, $57,000, buy a $1.1 million home. 1.130 purchase price with 5% down is going to be $56,500. You got to throw in an extra $500 because we have to stay at that maximum loan amount at $1.73 million. So this is just, to me, the easiest way to do that math is to do a purchase price at 1.13 with $57,000 down, most likely no reserves, 5% down. That's going to be a conforming loan. There will be mortgage insurance. Mortgage insurance is very inexpensive right now, and it's cancelable. We don't require it to be paid a certain amount of time. And so once the homeowner has more equity, we can look at canceling the mortgage insurance. I just quoted one yesterday at $188 a month on a $900,000 loan. That's very minimal. Okay, so get excited about this. 1.13 for first-time home buyers. I mean, that's a pretty nice loan amount. Of course, it can be lower than that. You wouldn't want to go below $715,000. Otherwise, you get into conforming, and the rates are a little bit higher on that. But we're going to try not to focus too much on rates here. But anyway, so that's really exciting news coming around. I'll let you guys know when we're going to start originating those loan amounts. Typically, Fannie Mae will let lenders originate them a little bit early, just because they don't get delivered to Fannie Mae until after the first of the year at this point in the year. But I'll let you know when we get to that. So the selling point to this would be you're already going to know that this is changing for this year, that will set you apart from other real estate agents that maybe don't even pay attention to it. Every 12 months, you can actually help your buyer buy a new house with 5% down. So the way conforming loans work, you sign in, or when you close, you're signing an intent to occupy the home for 12 months. After 12 months, you can rent it out or sell it, do whatever you want, buy another owner occupied home. So long gone are the days of 20% down investment property purchase, and then it's all just for people that have a lot of money, right? Now, with these proposals, you could help someone like yourself, like me, a teacher, whoever out there, invest in real estate with just 5% of their own money. They can pull from their 401k. Typically, that pays interest back to themselves. So while there is interest on the payment back in your 401k, it goes back into your own pocket. You can refinance at any time. And Golden One also does home equity lines on investment property. So let's say they've purchased a home 5% down. Let's say 24 months, maybe not 12, but let's say 24 months later, they call you and say, hey, I remember you talked to me about this, or hopefully you're in communication with them and they remember you from staying in front of them. I remember you talked about 5% down. We want to do it, buy another house, keep this one, build a real estate portfolio, things like that. Then they can pull money from that home with a home equity line of credit for a down payment. If they don't have access to 5% down, we will allow that. So there's lots of different ways that you can use these new loan amounts to help grow your business and also help your own community become more homeowners than renters. Okay, now let's talk about overcoming objections. So I'm going to share with you in the next few slides here what the objections are that I've heard in my own experiences. I would love nothing more than at the end of this for us to have a conversation if you guys are still available to do that. And you can share with me some of the objections you've heard, or even put them in the chat box, and then Mike can read them off at the end. Mike, there seems to be about 6 messages in the chat box. If you want to check it and make sure I'm not missing anything, or if I need to stop, let me know. Otherwise, I'll continue. Okay.
Well, I'll take a look.
Okay. So as I mentioned before, there are a lot of misconceptions out there. People that are not experts in our industry that like to give their opinions. They hear a new snippet here or there. They read half of an article or half of a headline, combine it into make it one story, whatever they want to say to make them feel like they know what's going on in a world that seems to be uncertain. But we want to shy away from that, right? Because it is important. We have the data. We have facts. We don't have to just give our opinion. So let's do that whenever we're talking with people, and we can say, actually, that statistic is off, and here's why, and here's what the real one is. For example, I have someone who called me over the weekend after we had talked about different loan options, and they were interested in the 7 or 10 year ARM. They're not under contract or anything yet, but they called me over the weekend and said, hey, I was wondering why you didn't tell me that on the ARMs that the rates adjust every year. My parents told me that they do, and I'm kind of upset and I want to know why you didn't tell me that. And I said, well, that's unfortunately not accurate. The rates are fixed for 7 or 10, 5 as well. They will not change. It's not possible for them to change during that fixed period term. So I was able to help them understand that. Okay, so their parents must have heard something from the 2008 meltdown where arms are evil and they're going to come out and destroy the whole world and things like that. There's still a lot of misconception out there about arms, but again, we just have to go at it with fact. Borrowers are really good at convincing themselves that they only want a low rate and nothing else. So when they go look at a house, or they get in and out of the shopping for a home, they talk to me mostly about interest rate. When really what they want is savings, security, and stability. Ultimately, that's what they want, but they just don't realize that because there's been so much in the news about interest rates, especially over the last 2 years when rates have been 2.75, 3%. Buying frenzy. Oh my God, it was crazy. I know you guys were just multiple offers. And some of you even have clients that they're still looking, that they weren't able to buy in 2020 and 2021. But I think one of the things that we can probably derive from having really in-depth conversations with our buyers is that they want savings, stability, and security. And buying a home will definitely give the stability and security, right? Their payments fixed for 7 years, 10 years, 30 years, whatever they pick. It doesn't matter what happens to the rental market. It doesn't matter if a landlord raises rents 10%. This payment is fixed. There's stability and security in that. In the savings, that comes from the tax advantage of buying a home, even unrealized savings. So when they sell the house or refinance, maybe pull some cash out to send their kid to college, things like that, they're going to have savings there. Renting an apartment, you don't have any of that. You literally have no control except for the first 12 months. What's my rent going to be? And then you cringe whenever the next 12 months comes around because they're probably going to raise rent. Okay. Okay. So what I've heard is rates are too high. I cannot afford to buy right now. So what I've got in italics is what my response would be. What do you mean they're too high? What do you mean by that? Can you help me understand by too high? So I'll have someone say, well, I heard rate 7%. There are some loans that are 7%, but there are a lot of loans that aren't. There are some loans that are, in the mid 5s. There's some that are in the mid 6s, really depending on credit score and all sorts of different things. Definitely they're higher than they were this time, or I'm sorry, higher than they were at the beginning of the year, but so is rent. On average, rent has gone up 7 to 10% across the country. I can't afford a 7% interest rate. Oh, I just actually talked about that one already. Since wages are up and some rates are not even that high, let's talk with Jody at Golden One and find out exactly what your rate would be. Let's say if you had a contract today, what interest rate would you have? What would the payment look like? Let's compare that to the rent that you're getting or that you're paying and see if it actually makes sense financially. P.S. It will. I'll wait for home prices to go down. Likely not to happen. There's still a shortage of homes available right now to purchase, and demand is still strong. When rates do go back down, there's going to be even more buyers out there in the market looking. So maybe right now would be the better time. You could possibly look at buying a house with, maybe 1 or 2 offers, as opposed to what we might go back to next year, 10, 15, 20 offers. I heard it's really hard to get a loan right now. Yeah. Have you ever talked with anyone about the actual loan process? Has anyone ever explained it to you step by step? No? Oh, so you're probably hearing some disasters from your friends and families. Let's call Jody at Golden One. I'm sure she can walk you through the steps and explain the process to you. Actually, she can even get you underwritten up front so that you don't even have to have a finance contingency in your contract. And then they'll say, what's a finance contingency? And then you go down that rabbit hole. My finances have taken a hit and I don't think I have enough money. Well, you actually might need less than you think. Now, remember, loan limit changes coming in next year, so you will need less than you think. I know one borrower that saved over $16,000 at closing just by talking with my preferred lender, Jody, over at Golden One. Now, this is a true story. I won't call the agent out, and hopefully she's on the call. And I mentioned this on maybe 10 calls ago. A borrower was with a big bank. I had the same exact interest rate than the big bank, but my interest rate was $16,000 less than what she was going to pay at the big bank. $16,000 is what she saved because her agent referred them to me. Now, if that's not a thing of value, I don't know what is. House values have decreased significantly. Okay, I was out of town recently and met these people and was having a little just like light lunch, and the people were talking about real estate, and I'd already said that I was a mortgage lender and things like that, so they already knew that I'm in the industry, and I've mentioned for how long. And they go, well, yeah, we heard that it's going to be home prices are going to go down about 20% this next coming years, and the interest rates are going to keep going up for 5 years. For 5 years, they're going to just keep going up and going up and going up. So yeah, nobody's buying right now. And one of the other people looked at me and said, well, we've been trying to buy, but we can't quite afford the area we want to live in. And I said, well, are you still in the market? Yes. Oh, great. Well, here's my card. Call me because interest rates are not going to keep going up for 5 years. Okay. That's just, again, more fear mongering and misinformation out there to invoke fear. We don't like that. Okay. Interest rates, they can be tracked, like I showed you in the slides before. Okay. Since 1970s. Okay. The data is there for a reason. Okay. So we can pretty much safely assume that once that we go into a recession, interest rates will come down. And the Mortgage Bankers Association is already projecting that. Okay, I need 20% down to buy a home in the Bay Area. Actually, you might need less than you think. Some homes you can get for 5% down. So let's give Jody a call at Golden One. You see where I'm getting with that? Let's give Jody a call at Golden One. The economy is going to collapse and bring about real estate disaster, and I don't want to be upside down and lose my house. That myth has been going on since 2008, especially in the Bay Area. But there's a lot of factors that come into play when it comes to the economy overall, not just real estate. Not one outweighs the other. So when we look at real estate prices in the Bay Area, we've got some of the most innovative companies in the world located here: Apple, Google, eBay. Those technology companies are going to continue to grow. And what's going to happen is more buyers are going to be moving into the area to work in these companies and create more demand. And there's still a lack of inventory compared to where we really want to see it. So actually, it's a really good time to buy. Okay. Should we pause for a minute before I get into some other things? I feel like
Right. Why don't we have some, let me pull up all the questions.
See what
People would like to have a link to the presentation. I have pasted your contact information in a few times. I'll keep doing so at the end so they can reach out to you.
Okay.
There's a question about this. Can we discuss loan assumption and how, per se, balance remaining is 300,000 and the loan is assumable purchase price? How does loan assumption work for the buyer?
Some loans are assumable. FHA tends to be assumable. Some conventional loans are assumable. Fannie Mae loans. I've never seen I've never even had an application that someone's trying to assume a loan. It's really not that. It's really not something that is going to happen. Really, to be honest, the seller would then still maintain financial responsibility on an assumed loan. The buyer still has to qualify, so it's really not all that great. It puts the seller at a lot of risk. So we really just don't see it.
Yeah, in the time I've been in real estate, I've never had a transaction where a loan was assumed. There's assumption points that are charged for the privilege, and usually when interest rates are going up, lenders are even less likely to cooperate.
Yeah,
and
it's just not it's just not really a. It's there. There's that feature is there on the loans, but it's just not really used.
And just to warn you, we have requests for San Diego, Orange County, and LA.
Okay, I can send those.
Relatively large group down there, and plus there's some guests from that area. So you're going to get please send me for that. What's the percentage rate for this 1.130 million loan? Somebody had asked.
Oh, for that, the one that well, what's the rate? I mean, it depends on, is it a 30-year fix? Is it a 7-10-year ARM? What's the credit score? What's the property type? What's the zip code? All of that goes into impact interest rate. So a 30-year today on that loan is probably 6. I don't know. I'd have to price something out. ARMs are probably going to be in the mid-4s. It changes every day. So.
And then there's a link asking for a link to the presentation. I pasted in your contact information. We're not pasting links to the presentation. You have to. I cannot provide the presentation. So that's why I said, take a picture or take some notes if you want. I can't send it out anymore. I'm sorry. And Andrea wanted to know about Alameda County. We already, I think, did that, but you could get that from Jody. You did Alameda County and Santa Clara County. Yes. Yeah. Are 80-10-10 still a thing? No, they're not right now. Ours was suspended and more of a legal issue than anything. But at the same time, I don't think I'd be selling the 80-10-10 anyway, because the prime has gone up so much. It's prime plus 3/4 on the rate for those. And what we're seeing is mortgage insurance is so incredibly inexpensive right now. I mean, under $200 for $1 million loan. Your payment on a
HELOC, a second mortgage HELOC is probably going to be $600, $700, $800 a month.
Right.
And qualifying for the HELOC, you'd have to qualify at 10% of the fully amortized payment. So what we're really seeing is there's really no appetite for it right now. Not until rates get back down, maybe to more normal levels, we'll see that come back. But right now it's just more doing monthly mortgage insurance, or even paying a mortgage insurance up front at closing, so you don't have the monthly. But yeah, we're not doing the 80-10-10. We're sticking with separate mortgage insurance right now because it's so affordable.
So somebody would like to look at the previous slide. There we go. Let's see, is 5% down for first-time home buyers only is the question?
Actually, let's talk about what first-time home buyer means, because it's not really it's not as easy to understand as it's not just first-time home buyer and then once you buy, that's it. A first-time home buyer is considered someone who hasn't owned property in the last 3 years. They're considered first-time home buyers. No, actually, you don't have to be just a first-time home buyer for 5% down. 5% down is going to be for conforming and conforming high balance loans. So basically what Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac buy, mostly Fannie Mae is who we sell to. We don't really sell to Freddie Mac, but yeah. So if you have a buyer that put 5% down this year, and then November of 2023, they want to buy another house, 5% down, rent this one out, absolutely, they can do that.
We're still getting sort of questions about assumption and all that. Some lenders apparently are advertising that without a risk to the owner. That's not entirely.
I would love to know who is advertising that. I haven't heard that at all.
Yeah,
Wendy, if you can let us know, I would like to know what that looks like.
And then there's another question from Fidel, which is really a subject to question. It isn't worded that way, but maybe we could just take over the payments and just not tell, right? Maybe not.
Wait, what is this?
I understand the lender wants to get paid, so anyone can make the payments without the change of title. That's true, probably, but I'm not sure where that question is going.
Maybe they're talking about assuming, but not in the legal sense of assuming a loan.
Subject to, as opposed to assumption. But are construction loans available?
Not right now. I haven't really seen any out there. There's really not much of an appetite for it.
No. And Wendy is saying it's Chase that says that loans are assumable pending buyers approved for the existing loan.
Well, that's a Fannie Mae thing. So it's not necessarily just Chase. Fannie Mae will allow loans to be assumed, and so will FHA. It's just not something that we see happen very much. So I would just be interested to know what is a buyer asking to assume a loan? I'm not sure. I just haven't seen it. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. We just haven't seen it. It's not.
Yeah, why don't we, that seems to be the end of the question.
Okay. All right, let's just make sure here.
And it's the buyer that's looking to assume. I've been in real estate a really long time, never have had a transaction, do not know of any transactions that have ever gone through where the buyer assumed successfully the loan.
Yeah, I would want to know what would be the reason they're trying to assume the loan. Is it because the interest rate's so good? I don't know. That would really be the only thing I can imagine why they would want to assume a loan. Interest rate, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Let's see. Common objections and responses. Okay, already did that. All right. How to win. Now, some of this I just kind of typed out for my own notes, so it's not necessarily in a presentation format, so no pretty pictures. During downturns in the market like this, and where it's uncertain and people don't really know what's going to happen, I know that I've been through the mortgage meltdown myself personally. I got into real estate in 2003 and mortgage in 2006. So I saw all of that meltdown happen. When I became a loan officer on my own, commission only loan officer in 2008 in March. And let me tell you, I've seen a lot. Okay. So it's one of those things where if it's in your blood, it's in your blood and you can't really shake it. There will probably be an exodus of real estate agents and even mortgage professionals. We already saw it happen some with appraisers who got, I guess, burned out over the last 2 years of volume, and then they just kind of quit. And then we had a bit of a shortage of getting appraisers to take orders and things like that. But A lot of people will be exiting the industry. So now is the time for you to really like take heart at what you're really looking to do in this field and what your passion is, how you want to be involved, how you want to help your community grow. One thing to start doing is, and if you haven't already, is watch all of Mike's videos again. I've started doing that, actually, not the ones I'm in because that drives me insane, but there's a lot of good information out there. And I feel like the very first thing you should do when things start to slow down a little bit is become more educated about your industry and things that you can do to stand out. One thing I wanted to talk about, because I'm even experiencing this myself, it's this time of year where we do our employee appraisals and we talk about our goals for the next year and things that we want to accomplish. And one thing I wanted to talk about is the value propositions that we have, especially in the industry. We hear the same thing over and over, and I think that these phrases are pretty much outused and boring, and they're not innovative. And I'm going to make sure that they don't appear on my website any longer. One is, I deliver great service. I have access to hundreds of products. I've been in the business for 20 years. I have great rates. These are all things that all of us say, right? We've all said it over and over. You may not say you have great rates, but I say I have great rates. I wanted us to look at maybe some potential changes to our value propositions to help us win out there in this uncertain market. So, new value proposition. Okay, I think that we should use the word expert a lot. People always want to be around experts. They put a lot of trust in them. And of course, we want to give accurate information and things like that. But I want to challenge you guys to start using the word expert in your daily life. Narrow your focus to emphasize the area of real estate that you are exceptionally proficient in. And if you're not, maybe you're new. I know a couple of new guys out there. Maybe you're not, and you're like, well, I don't really have all that. I don't know what to do. Well, that's okay. You can learn what to do. You can get the knowledge. Mike's got hundreds of videos that I've been watching over the years. There's really no reason for you not to understand things. Surround yourself with people in the industry that you admire, that you look up to, that you believe have facts that you can take on. All the information I give you guys, regurgitate it all you want. You don't have to understand everything in and out. You don't have to know what the conforming loan amount is for every county in California. You just need to know a little bit, right? A little bit to be dangerous, a little bit so that you can position yourself as the expert in your field. You're in line at the coffee shop, or you go to the coffee shop, maybe to check email or something like that, get away from the house. Wear something like this, your name tag. Maybe wear a shirt that supports your community. That's what I have on today, my Oakland Soul t-shirt. Oakland Soul is the professional women's soccer team that Oakland has, as many of you know, thanks to Mike and one of his agents, Monica. My wife and I were able to buy a house in Oakland this year, and we love it. It's amazing. It's a small community, but it's a really big community. And so I decided that I'm going to start, when I go out in public, I'm going to start wearing clothing that identifies myself as a supporter of the community and what I do. So this is what I'll be wearing to the grocery store, okay, because I just came from a closing. Do things like that when you go to the coffee shop or the grocery store, or to your kids' games. If you guys are going to kids' games, you've got all these parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles and people there. Stand out somehow. Wear the shirt for your kid, but maybe pop that name tag on. Maybe you just came from a meeting and you forgot to take it off. Oh no, now you know what I do and who I am. And oh, you're looking at buying another house? Oh, cool. Yeah, I live in that neighborhood too. I'll come over, let me stop by for coffee and we'll have a chat. No one's going to magically walk up to you and say, what do you do? Oh my God, we have to be able to put it out there, okay? You are your own marketing, what's it called on the side of the street? What's
Billboard,
it called?
Billboard, sandwich.
Billboard,
sign.
yes, thank you. You are your own walking billboard. So you're the expert. So instead of I give great service, I'm a home buyer expert. I'm a luxury home expert. I'm a relocation expert. I'm investment property expert. I know everything about 1031 exchanges. P.S. You don't have to know everything about 1031 exchanges. You just need to know what it is, okay? Because really, you're not really that involved in it. the 1031 exchange company is, but you're not. I've done a ton of them. If you want to talk about it, I'm happy to chat with you. So has Mike, I'm sure. I'm a builder expert. You want to buy a brand new house? I know all of the builders in the area. I know what their prices are. I know how you can get upgrades. I know, all this kind of stuff. So use the word expert in your communication going forward. If there's already an agent in the top spot in your area, aim to occupy the second spot. Now, I know, and even I have said to people before, I would expect you to have a preferred lender already. Call up a new agent. Hey, whatever, I'm in the area, this kind of thing. Oh, Jody, I already have a preferred agent. I'm not really looking for anyone else. Okay, I would think that you would have that. So that's fully expected. How about I'm your backup in case your lender can't get something closed or there's some kind of challenge that his financial institution is not able to overcome? Give me a call. We're a little bit more lenient in certain aspects of underwriting and things like that. So yeah, I'm happy to be the second. That also enables me to be the second opinion. Okay, so sometimes people don't go with the first opinion, they go with the second or maybe even the third. So aim to be that until you work your way up to the top spot. Okay, and don't be discouraged by competition. Let it drive you. You see that person has already made it. Well, who was in the top spot before that person? They haven't always been there, right? Somebody was there before them. So let that drive you, let that motivate you. Be hyper relevant to your customers. I get constantly in my email newsletter after newsletter after newsletter of industries that I don't care about. I really don't care what's happening in the auto finance industry. Could care less. I don't care what interest rates are on auto loans. I don't care if there's millions of unsold SUVs out there. I don't really care. I don't want those newsletters, and I'm going to throw them away, or not even throw them away, trash them. I do get some in the mail, but stick to something a little bit more, I guess, getting at people less, maybe instead of every month, maybe send quarterly or maybe every 6 months, especially if you just closed a home for someone and they're not going to be moving in 6 months, but they still need to know what's going on in their area, right? They are invested now. What happens in their neighborhood directly impacts their potential savings and appreciation. So send that to them every 6 months or maybe every quarter. Another way that you could win in the industry, and my agent through Mike did this, and I appreciated it, is offer free handyman service. Now, I paid him for a couple of things to do, but she got a lot of stuff done for me, and I was like, wow, it's very minimal cost wise, but it meant a lot to me. So you're taking a listing or going to a listing appointment, and you notice a few things in the walls that, well, if that hole wasn't there, then that'd just be best. So the seller's like, I'm not doing anything. Maybe offer free handyman service. When you're doing open houses, treat every potential buyer that comes into your open house like a seller. Just assume they're a seller, okay? Maybe they're not, but assume that they are. You want to treat them the way that you want them to see how you would treat a potential buyer of their home. And then what happens is you might get the listing and the buy side of it, okay? One thing that I've started doing, and I haven't sent it out yet, but I'm in the process of creating it, is a survey, short survey, about 10 questions to find out what your prospective buyers and clients want help with. Okay. A lot of times it could be stuff that you can't help with. It could be stuff that you can help with. It might just be something that they can get some information out that helps you learn more about them. Okay. Maybe they need a whole bunch of work done around the house and they don't know who to call and they need help with that. Or maybe they need to buy another house and they don't know who to call, so they need you to help them with referring a lender over to them. It could be tons of different things. It could be an emotional transaction and they need help going through a lot of the emotions with different family members that maybe have some ownership. There's a lot of different scenarios that could happen. Creating a survey to help guide them through getting the information out into your hands will then help you have the tools that you need to be able to advise them better than the competition. A challenge for me, admittedly, is an online presence. I'm terrible at it. I am Gen X, and I still sometimes look at my phone like, why is nobody magically knows my number? Well, guess what, guys? Millennials, this is where it's at. That's the new wave of home buyers coming, and they love social media. I think we probably love social media too, but maybe not quite to the extent. But we've got to develop a really strong online presence. Instagram, 59% of millennials are on Instagram, and I believe they have around 700 million in traffic per month. So long gone are the billboard days. I couldn't even remember what it's called. So we've got to get online. Okay. You've got to blog, you've got to tweet, TikTok. Oh, kill me now. I don't really want to do those kind of things, but I'm going to make myself do it because it is important to get out there. I know the passion that I have with what I do. I can't just sit around on my couch and wait for people to call me. I have to get out there and educate my community, be a driving force in my community. And the way to do that is going to be by developing a very strong online presence. And I believe with EXP, you guys have some really great resources and tools to be able to do that. If you're not in the middle of closing 3 transactions the rest of this week, so you don't have 3 closings coming up this week, then you need to set aside some time, a few hours out of your day, to really dig deep into your online presence and decide whether or not this is satisfactory. Maybe you're great, maybe it's already amazing, and you've got, however many, what's a good number, 100,000 views. Maybe you already have that. That's wonderful. Congratulations. If you don't have that, then you need to get it, just like me. Okay, so I'll be in the thick of it with you. So let's exchange some ideas. We could do some videos together. We can do pre-recorded messages, things like that, that you can just tweet out or blog out and things like that. Okay. I love it. I'm getting some text messages right now from some of you guys wanting to get in on social media. So that's exciting. Okay. I'm not a listing agent. Of course, I'm not a real estate agent. I sit at my desk all day and I look at paperwork and tax returns and pay stubs and W-2s, and I love it. But I have noticed this in some of the listings because I am on realtor.com quite a bit. And I've noticed that there's a lot of really, really great photography out there on listings. And I've noticed that drones are a really big thing. So if you're not an agent that utilizes drones yet, you might want to get into that. I have a feeling, and it's just a feeling, that drones will probably play a part in even maybe appraisals in the future. I don't know when, maybe a couple years or something, but I feel like it's a really good tool to use. It really makes your listing stand out. If you're going to a listing appointment, take your drone with you. You don't necessarily have to use it, but if you don't know how to use it, still take it and be like, oh, I don't have time today, but I'll come back. I just want you to see it. And maybe you hire somebody to come out and take those videos if you don't do it yourself. But definitely get into that. Technology. So this is what I was thinking, and I was thinking about this mostly because of the house that my wife and I just bought. There was really no technology installed, like nothing wireless, like nothing really done. Not that that impacted our interest in buying it, but if you're going to a house or to do a listing and they have no technology at all, like they don't even have an Amazon Alexa or anything like that, talk to them about putting some things in. You can get light bulbs that you can adjust with the sound of your voice. Things like that. They're very little, very minimally. They're not expensive at all. I mean, you can get the Hue ones that are $50 a piece, but there's lots of them that are not that much. And they last for a long time and they're great energy savers. Try to update the house a little bit with some technology that wasn't there before. Buyers care about climates. Millennials care about the climate. Okay, so if you are taking a listing and the refrigerator hasn't been replaced in 15 years, let's get that replaced, or offer a credit. Maybe go ahead and advertise with a flyer on the refrigerator, seller credit for new energy efficient appliance available. Then you can negotiate it. It doesn't have to be the full price of a new, stove. It doesn't have to be $3,000. It can be $500. Just something, to engage and keep people interested in that property. And especially the millennial population, because that's, like I said, that's where it's headed. Seller, I know we're going a little bit over, so if you have to leave, I get it. But if you can stay on, try to, and I'll try to hurry up here. Sellers can pay towards the rate buy down if that's something that it's going to be a deal breaker for your client. For example, the person I have who had to buy the rate down, there was no other way around it. Now that was already negotiated in the contract that they would do that. So the seller did not contribute to it, but I do have someone now negotiating that really cannot afford to pay the closing costs, but they can afford increase the loan amount, or I'm sorry, the purchase price by $10,000 to get a $10,000 seller credit. As long as the net to the seller is the same, they generally don't have a problem with that. And $10,000 in the grand scheme of the purchase price is not really going to be a deal breaker. It's probably going to still come in at appraised value. Now I'll say that, and if it came in 10,000 lower, somebody's going to have me, but that's really not something that we see. Not that's a very minimal amount. You can always refinance when rates drop. Okay, we're going to go ahead, start getting you into the home and realizing appreciation. We've already talked about cash buyers, inventory shortages. We've already talked about that. 3.5 months. We really want to see it at 6, which is another reason home prices are probably going to stay at level or maybe a little bit above. Tax advantage of paying mortgage interest instead of rent, which creates wealth. Okay, the rest is just some general stuff that I always have in my presentation, so I'll just leave it up here. And Mike, if you want to take back the call, you can. If we want to do some Q&A, I'm happy to sit here for however long people have questions.
Cool. Are there any Qs out there that need an A? People have been posting as we go along. Should we have Jody come back and talk more about some of these things? How many of you vote for that? Yes.
Yay.
Yes, totally.
Cool.
Totally. Because I really appreciate what you did, Jody, because you did more than just talk about interest rates. And as we know that when the market, what year did the market not shift one way or another? I can't remember that year, right? I just don't. So the market is always shifting. Agents need to shift too. And what will happen when the market changes is some agents will just give up because they're going to wait for the market to become easy again, and others are going to double down and they're going to get the bulk of the business. And what happens is the market will pick up, and we don't know exactly when that's going to happen. And the ones that are working get an advantage from that, and the ones that are not working don't even know that the market picked up, right? Because they're not talking
That's
to it.
true.
So if you're interested, and I know many of you are in San Diego, Los Angeles, and Orange County, and you want those numbers, I assume those were Golden One product, right? That one.
No, are you talking about the buyers?
You did a couple of county snapshots.
Yes, it's not through Golden One. It's through our company that we use that gives a lot of information, marketing materials and things like that. And I can pull that. Excuse me.
They have to get it from you.
Yeah, just send me an email if you don't mind, because I think once the call is over and the chat box is gone, I won't know who exactly is asking for what. So just send me a quick email or text and say, hey, Jody, Orange County or something, and I'll send it over. Fidel, you would ask about Spanish. No, I actually don't speak Spanish. I'm so sorry. I wish I did, but I don't. And actually, to give any kind of presentation or even documentation, it all has to be in English as being the primary country's language. So it kind of stinks. Otherwise, if you've got a Spanish speaking borrower, they can provide their own interpreter, and I'm more than happy to talk with them.
Okay. Start learning Spanish. All right.
Hola.
That's why I have Monica. All right. So I don't have to
Yes.
learn Spanish. Cool, everybody. Thank you very much for participating. If you've got questions for Jody, I've pasted her contact information in several times. As things change, she'll be back to talk about what you need to do to be successful in real estate. And thank you very much. Stay safe out there. Watch out
Thank you all.
for earthquakes.
That's right. Thank you. Call me anytime.
And then let me